Hello, welcome, and sort of a little bit different this week. I'm not in the railway room, I'm just in the conservatory, and I'm going to really concentrate on this kit building, and I have a few kits. So I've got another one of these warehouses that I want to build for the middle. As you probably remembered from last week, there was a building missing. I've got this small factory to build. I've had a slight change of plan on where I'm going to fit this, so I'll show you that in a little while once I've got it made. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using this, but I thought I'd go through how to make some of these. I'm definitely going to be using that one, and that one, not sure if it'll fit anywhere at the moment, but I'm going to build it anyway, and I'll show you how to build these and get them to look pretty good. You know, I've built a couple of these in the past and using some sort of wraps that I've created from Photoshop, but you can just buy brick, buy stone sheets. All the companies do them. I know Metcalfe do some textured sheets, but it's quite thick, so you have to just be a bit careful when you're bending them round so they don't look silly. And I've also got, that's all for the like the industrial warehouse sort of section, and then I have for the traction maintenance depot, if I get time this week, I want to build this, but obviously this is quite a long diesel depot. I think it says so you've got 384 mil. I haven't got 384 mil to utilise. I want to just basically remove this section here and then join it to this section here. I might have one window, or so I might actually just cut that there and then remove all that. I'm going to just measure it and just see how it sort of fits. So I'm going to need to sort of modify that, kit bash it, as people say. And there's also a 1970s office block, and looking at the size of this, I should have bought the low relief one and created a back to it, just for sort of the office to the traction maintenance depot. I think that's going to be too big, and I don't think I'm going to have the space to actually fit that in. So I need a space of 200 mil by 166. But I'm going to have a look and just see how big the footprint is, and just see if I got the space. If not, what I'll do is I just have to cut it, probably remove these rear windows there, and make it just a smaller footprint if I can, without ruining the kit, because it's not really been designed for that. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of work and try and finish the warehouse scene off. I've created a this is to finish off the dock scene warehouse building, and this is the opposite side to it, so it faces the pavement and everything like that. I've created this in Photoshop, just using a scalescenes. What was it? It was the canal dock scene box file building, and I've just created that from one of their PDFs, put it into Photoshop and created that, and then I'm going to use that, stick it to the card, and just sort of build a frame to go on the other side, and I think that should work quite nicely. And that's really where I'm going to be, and I think this is more than a week's worth building all this up, so wish me luck. If I don't get around to doing the traction maintenance depot buildings, then I want to make sure that I do finish all these. I know that took me about 2 days, the last one, so I'm expecting that to be at least probably a day and a bit. I'm only going to build this section initially because I don't need that piece there, but that piece may be useful to go on the dock scene, on the upper level. So, but I'm going to sort of put that to one side and just concentrate on this piece at the moment. So that's the first build. and these are so good value. I was sort of and I was down Melk's Models in Ilkeston, and I picked these kits up. I mean, that one was £15.50. Can't remember how much that one was now. Not got the price on it. So, but if you're ever in Ilkeston, drop in. It's one of the really good model shops. Probably one of the biggest in these Midlands. You know. So, right. Let's see what we've got. More? No. And it's a similar process of building all of the Metcalfe ones. They're pretty good, really. So it's build all the glazing pieces together first. So I'm going to do that. And then so it looks pretty straightforward. So I'm going to get all the windows done, and then give me a bit of time. Actually, didn't realise they came in plastic parts as well now. I thought they were all card. So that makes building the little ladder and everything on the side there really quick. Okay, come back in a little while and see what progress I've got. Right, I've been working on this. Obviously, it's getting a bit later in the evening now, so I haven't got any light facing the forward of me at the moment. So sorry about some of the shadows, but I was getting to where the platform was, and basically, just looks too perfect and clean. So I thought about using a textured sheet. This is some tarmac, or I've got some broken paving slabs. Not sure if that's coming out that well. So I could either use either of those. I've just sprayed these up with the lacquer, sort of matte lacquer, to give them a waterproof feel. But I'm thinking that going over the top. If I don't like it, I can always put some paving over the top of that. But when I was to put it on the building there, I just went, it just a bit too clinical. Okay, I know that all the roof is like that and everything, and there's still, I'm going to do a little bit of weathering on all these buildings, I think, but it looks like everybody else's Metcalfe kit. So I'm going to put the tarmac on there, and I might put an edge to the platform, but I don't think I need to. I think it's really just stick it on more than anything. That's totally brand new. That one's okay. So I'm just gonna get some print stick, stick it on, cut around it, put it on. And I'll just leave that to dry and cut round it, and then add that. I've made one massive mistake on building this. I forgot about the lights. So I've got an idea of what to put in the lights now. So I'm just going to make a small hole in the bottom, use some street lights so I can then angle them up to the top of the roof, and then they should shine down and you'll see sort of light coming through. Because there's no interior in it, a little bit disappointing that I should have put something behind the glazing in the roof, because you look through the glazing in the roof and you can see no interior. So maybe I make a decision of I should have put probably a roof, you know, some sort of roof inside. But you know, how often is somebody going to steer down the skylights? But anyway, I'll come back to that one. I'm just going to let that dry before I cut it out. So if you start cutting out when it's still wet, you just tear it. Right, that is the platform. I'm sorry, the lighting's not the best at the moment. But that is, I wasn't sure about the canopy, and I'm still not really sure. I want that fitted, so I'm going to leave the canopy off. And it never rains on my layout, so little people not going to get wet. But I think it actually looks better without that canopy. It's unless I improve all the roof texture and things like that, I think that doesn't really work. Yeah, it might depending on. I mean, in a steam industrial layout, I think you definitely would always have that, you know. But I'm not sure myself. I can always fit it at a later date, you know. But I think that looks fine. I have just thought I've still got to put a little bit of detail on the roof with the ridge tiles there. And I also want to put some guttering, well, some downpipes on eventually. But yeah, I mean, the platform, if you can see the with the light, definitely looks better, that texture, and that sort of improved that quite a lot. So I mean, I've said before, it's like I'm not the biggest fan of these kits, but it's going to build the layout up a bit quicker, and they are still pretty good, you know. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just that everybody's layout's got the same buildings, and I didn't want that. But I'm just never going to get this layout finished if I'm not careful. I'm going to get on the layout tomorrow. It's quite late in the evening now, so this is why it's the lighting's not fantastic. I've got a nice big light, but it shines behind me, you know, so it's not as easy for the camera. Right, I am getting somewhere. This is the next building, and I've just added all the lights. I've added these extra strips in just to support the lights, so it's going through the building itself, and that will then slot on, if I can get it correct. I meant to put those wires at the bottom. Yep. Where's that not? Right, I'm going to need to trim those down a little bit, I think. That's the problem I've got. One of them's still a bit long. It's catching, what it's doing, it's actually catching on one of the spacers, so I wasn't expecting it to do that. I did measure this first one, that seemed to fit, but now I'll trim it both right down to there. Right, so you can see that's going to be the one that goes in the middle of the layout. Let's get just test these lights. So problem is, it does look a little bit empty inside, and a few wires I can see. I wonder if I can do something about that. what I might do is just put a bit of tissue paper over these lights there, because that's sort of where the main problem seems to be. So I think that would look okay then. Or I could put a piece of card. No, I don't put the card there, because all that's going to do is. But that's the next Metcalfe building done. So that's both the factory building, small factory, and this warehouse. I do have a bridge to make, which I want to sort of bridge this one over to the other warehouse. So I'm going to finish this one off now. So I'll see if I can just block them windows off a little bit with a little bit of tissue paper, and then get the roof on and all the other bits, and then show you on the layout so you can see what I've been working on. Well, that's the building that I've just been working on, all in place. Obviously I've not secured any of these in, they're just still temporary until I can get the pavement sorted out. But that's really where we are. So this building here is part of the small warehouse, and that's all fits on the end there. And the other part of the small factory goes there. Well, when I said warehouse I meant small factory. And as you can see, I've decided to put a road going down from the top. And the reason is that it's like I was looking at the original plan, the original Pico plan, and I just realised that I'm not really following it that well. I mean, the idea was to make my own, but based on that, but I just thought it'd look better with something there rather than a big empty space. So that's really what I've sort of got to. So I'm all over with the camera, but I think this space is about right now. There's enough buildings here. I could have squeezed something more in here. Maybe I put a small, I don't know yet. It could be a small sort of office building or something. Obviously I've still got one building left to fit, and I've also got all the bridge supports and all the bridge part to that. So I'm quite happy with that, how it's turning out so far. So I think really I need to sort out this pavement next, get all the texture on that, and then get the pavement edging done. Finish this road how it slopes down. So I've put a bit of filler in there, I need to sand all that down. I put a bit of filler in the gap, and then I'll need to just break that so when it splits from board to board. This is not fixed down. The idea of that is so you can lift the whole thing off, clean your tracks, put it back, and it makes it portable. But I think it's going to be quite heavy once all the buildings are fixed in place. So I'm going to see about whether I do fully fix it in place or not yet. And I was just sort of testing just a couple of so if you did have a 2-carriage DMU, it would sort of almost fit behind there. I mean, these are slightly longer than a 2-carriage DMU anyway, but right, I thought I'd have a look at this fair price model this time, and this is for the back seam. So hopefully the light is still okay in here. And it's getting later on in the evening again. And you get good thick pieces of sort of MDF, really. So you get some for the windows, pop that to one side, and you get pretty basic instructions, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But one of the first things I want to do is all the windows and the sills I want to sort of spray up first before I remove them. I'm just going to spray this lot up in white and then give it a quick dust, very light dusting of the brown over the top. Just give it a bit of a dirty feel. Might do the door in a different colour. Once I pop that out, might do the door in green or something like that, say. But let's get that painted white first. So that's a nice coat of white. And I might just spray a little bit of sort of like a brown colour just from a real distance. I was holding it, as you can see I sprayed my thumb as well. I always think need to wear gloves, and then I start spraying and then think where's my gloves. Then I'm going to just get a quick dusting of brown over the top of this, just to dirty it up a little bit. That's really just a very light dusting of just a brown. It's really just to sort of weather it in a little bit so it's not looking pure white. That's all I've done that for. So I thought the first thing I want to do is just have a look at what we've got. Work out what pieces go where. So they look like all the inner floors. So they should be those pieces that go in there. I'm just going to sort of give it a quick bit, and then these will go on the ends. So just going to give it a little bit of a test fit first. And I think that will be actually the roof itself, so just make sure you know how it all goes together first. And there we go. And then actually sits in quite firmly without even any glue. So, but it does need all glue. Right. Now we'll throw it the wrong way round. Right, so that's the sort of the basic structure, and I've got a stone wrap to go on that. I think that should be big enough. So let me take this apart then, and then glue these pieces in. Just using some PVA glue. Probably don't need to put any on the actual ends. I'll just stick it to my cutting board. that, if I look at the, I can either go on that way round or that way round. So it's probably better on that way round. So this one is going to go here on the top. It will go in. It's already gone in once. There we go. Nice and secure. Now there is just these two sides, get them the right way around. Just put plenty on. Could do with a cloth. Right, I'm going to let all that dry now, and then start to put the paper wrap over the top. Why I'm sort of letting that dry, I want to get the paper covered in a matte lacquer, so we get a bit of a waterproof seal over the top. Right, I've got my paper wrap. I was just starting to get the Pritt stick on, and just getting plenty of that on. I had sort of started, but the camera didn't want to record, mainly because I didn't press the button. I've got my wrap. I've made an edge where I know where the edge of the fold's going to be. To make sure that that's stuck on all nice all over, so as square as possible. Okay. Right, let that dry before I even attempt to cut anything out. So I want to cut really all the windows out afterwards and then get the windows in place, the window frames and the glazing. So I thought I'd take this chance of getting the windows cut out. And I've already nearly came out okay. So there's an inner window and an outer window. Give it a bit of relief. So I just need to glue those together. And I'm just going to pop all these to one side. What I've got is just one of these fine applicator, and that has got some special bond glue. It dries pretty quick and works quite nicely actually. So, and I got I think 2 of these applicator bottles for like only about £1 something. You just got to fill them up and that's it. But I'm going to carry on getting the rest of these cut out and all lined up on the paper ready to put into the building. I've got all the windows glued together. So I need to decide on how am I going to cut these out completely or fold them in, because these windows do fit in quite tightly to the internal frame. So I'm going to just test one, just see if I can get it to fit by, oh dear, it's just tore the paper. That means my knife is very blunt. Okay, so let's start that again from this corner. The downside to this is once you've got a bit of extra paper on there, will the window fit in? So I'm just going to test fit one. Okay, I know I've not glued those in like that, but yeah, I think that will well work actually. So I'm going to do that to all the windows, and then just tightly glue them across, something like that. So I think the best way to do it is to do all of them first before I start fitting any of the windows in. So bear with me while I cut every one of these out and glue them in, and glue all the flaps across. So I think that should fit in nicely now. So if I just test that. Yeah, that does look okay actually. And then obviously it's got window sills and lintels to go over the top, which are on here still. So they're quite fine, and we'll need a little bit of delicate application. So give me a few minutes. Right, that is all the windows cut out and the door, and that's all nice and neat. And I've done all the sides, and I was just looking at these windows, and one thing I did forget was this glazing sheet, and I've just started to look at getting these glued onto the sheet. So I just need to, because I did think about actually cutting this out afterwards, but when I sort of measured it up against the building, I was worried that I was just going to run out of glazing sheet, because I was going to be a bit too over generous with the glazing gap to secure. But there again, I've got plenty of this type sheeting anyway that I would print windows on and things like that. So, but I'm just going to glue these onto the sheet, and then they'll cut them out, and then I can then just glue them back into the building. And it doesn't take. Oh, that was a bit. I should have not tried to spin that round after it fell onto the sheet. It will dry clear, but you will get a glue mark on the glazing. Damn. So it's best to try not to get it to move once you've got it in place. This building, I'm not 100% sure if it will suit the backdrop. I nearly actually stuck that there, which was on my mat, not on the glazing. But let me carry on getting all these stuck down, and we'll come back, start getting some of these windows cut out and fitted. Well, that's all those virtually dry. When I was putting them down on the two of them just fell, and I decided not to move them, even though they're at weird angles and things like that. So that's not too bad, you know. I'm not too worried about that. But if you do, as you can see, I've just actually fitted the door. But if you do find that you've got a load of glue marks and things like that on here, so I was thinking, do I put these on now, all the window sills and the lintels, and then if I get any glue marks, I can just dull them off with a bit of lacquer. If you try and spray the lacquer on with the windows in, it goes onto the acrylic and just sort of makes it sort of a bit frosted glass. So I might just cut a couple of these lintels out and just have a look, because that's still not perfectly dry. So we've got these for the top. And I was thinking, should I glue all these on now? I was going to put them all in after put the windows in, but I think doing now, then if I get me glue hands and I get a little bit of glue marks on here, I can then just give it a flat off with a bit of matte lacquer. So let me get these cut out and start getting them stuck on. Right, that is my plan. I'm going to put it on the actual building itself. centre that up, and let's just put the sill on and just have a look. Yeah. Right, not really any extra glue or anything like that, so I'm going to carry on getting the rest of all these fitted while the glue's 100% drying on all the glazing, and then I will give it just a quick waft over, just because I'm bound to get a sticky glue finger mark on one of these pieces at some point. And it just doesn't make it disappear or anything like that, but it just blends it in and hides it slightly, and also gives it another waterproof coating, so it shouldn't get damaged, you know, or faded in the sun as easy. Right, I've got all the window sills and the lintels fitted now. So one or two of them I probably could have done a slightly better job fitting, and I should have probably used the ruler to just line them up, but not to worry, because you can't really see from a distance that, it's only when you really look up close. But I've started to cut the windows out, and I've got this one here, and I just want to sort of give it a bit of a test fit. There is a top and a bottom to these windows, so but I think that should fit all right. So I'm going to just glue this one in. Yep. I did actually give the building just a quick dust of the matte lacquer, just 100% to make sure that I've not got any visible glue marks, because then that will just matte them off anyway. And these buildings are pretty good, really, and very good value. Just take a little bit of time to actually make, but not as long as say a Metcalfe building would, or scalescenes takes even longer. There's always waiting though for glue to dry and things like that. That's the downside to all these buildings. Oops. But just trying to make sure that got these in nice and square, these windows. But I'm going to carry on getting the rest of these windows in. Then I need to let all the glue dry. I need to just make sure that they are 100% square, because that will look worse than just an off level lintel or a windowsill. So give me a few minutes, I'll get all these cut out, get these in. I need to put some tiles on the roof, so I've not actually made that sheet of paper yet, so I need to get some of the tiles cut. Use some scalescenes tiles. You can actually buy the tiles that come with the, you know, from this company as well, and then just get the back on. And if I want to put lights in it, obviously there's plenty of smaller compartments in there for the so you can just light up one small section or 3 or 4 sections. And I think I will put lights in, but whether I choose to light it up because it's sat on the viaduct. Right, apologies for not showing you this all this step. It's the I didn't press the record button on the camera when I turned it back on, but I've got the rest of the building. It's all complete. Put the rear on. I'm not going to put any lights in this. I've decided I'm not going to use this on the layout, and the reason for that is it just doesn't really match up, and you can't actually see the building. And the railway line is very close to this sort of door, and so you wouldn't really have a fence and then this path all the way to it. So you may have done in the, I suppose in the 70s, but not so much. So, but I was just starting to stick the tiles to the roof, and I've just got like a printed textured sheet that I've created in Photoshop with a ridge tile on over the top, and I've just sort of used a bit of Pritt stick, stuck that over there, and I'm just using a bit of a just wrap, so I can wrap it around the edges. I need to check the camera before I start doing any work, make sure it is recording. I do apologise on that. Let's use this glue. Or could I use the Pritt stick? Right, I think that's enough on that. And I'm just folding it around the edges so you don't see the white sort of roof really underneath, sort of the white edge of the roof. Just think it makes it a little bit better. What I've got to do is then add this to the building. So, and make sure it's nice and flush. I'm just going to add it on the on that side. I'll just use a scrap board, so try not to get too much glue on my good board. I mean, the plan was to always use this building, but I think I bought enough now of the Metcalfe ones and things like that, so I bought these quite a while back actually, and was going to do the whole top in a stone sort of building, but I always use these on another layout. Make sure that was really stuck, and really there we go, that's that one finished. And so I do have another type one as well. I'm not going to build that though, I might use that on another layout. Don't think it's really going to suit what I want on here, but these are really good quality and really good sort of value for money. So if you have a look at these, and you sort of, you don't actually have to create your own textures. You can buy download ones. There's plenty of free ones out there. I think there's one called Scenery Builder, and they've got some free textures on there and things like that. And I'll try and put a link into some of the free ones. So and obviously, if you have got access to something like Photoshop, it's easy enough to take on, you know, and create something a little bit better, you know, how you want it. But yeah, I mean, not bad little buildings really, and they're very solid, you know, and quite heavy. So it's like fairly quick. Obviously you've got a few little bits of detail with the windows and the window frames and things like that, but it's nothing technical. Right, I've just brought this piece of the layout in, and I want to make a start on getting all the platforms. So I've started to just cover these in the texture, sort of like and then I need to just put some curb edging along there. So I'm not going to put curb edging on every single piece. It will just go along here, some along there, and along this section here. And so what I've got is these scale scene sheets. So they obviously I need a bit more than one to cover that one. But yeah, I mean, this should look alright, and it gives a bit of a contrast from the road to this tarmac pavement. So that's the idea. So I'm going to get the rest of these covered and see what it looks like. Right, I'll start to get everything fixed down. Still got the middle section to finish the pavement on. So I've got to start putting the curb edging on. These are now all nicely fixed down. I've also started to put the girder sides in. Realise I'm going to need to get some more of these printed, so I want to put them just on this piece here as well to match this side. So I wasn't really sure whether to do that, because it was going to mean possibly a brick wall, but I'm just going to do them like that. Start to add some of the buildings, so you can see, not sure, you know, so this is the stone building that I was doing, and like you can see what I was sort of saying. So if I put a fence all the way along there, it's going to be quite tight walking across. So I'm not sure I've got enough room for that sort of size building still. And once these other buildings are here, it's almost impossible to see that anyway. So that's what I thought the idea was, to build that, to put it on this side, this part of the layout. Maybe I could put it this end, but and then you would actually physically see it. So I'll have to just sort of see how it all goes, but I don't think I will be using that, even though I spent quite a bit of time building it. But let's get this last piece finished. So that's the bit I just need to finish now. So, and this is as simple as just covering it. There's a few different sections that cover this, because it's bigger than A4, but it doesn't really matter too much, because the patchwork part to it does look quite good. And with the curve edging, I just put that over halfway and then fold that across and then glue it down, you know, and then you get a nice curbstone edge all the way around. And I create my curbstones. Basically, I created these a long time ago for another project that was a part of a bridge. It was actually a slightly larger version than a box file canal seam. So I need really just these straight pieces. So I just want to cut the curb stones off these. Saves me making some more out of Photoshop in a way, but there is a lot of waste. So he's wasted ink. And a lot of paper. I could have actually created just all these curves on one, probably one sheet of A4 instead of 4 sheets. Not really a main problem. When I get to a curve like that, I was trying to use the curve piece here, but it didn't actually work, so I just cut individual ones out and then just placed them round. That was like a better solution basically. Well, let me just finish that run off, I think, down there really first. Sliding all over the place. And then best to wait for it to dry before you trim it right off. Let's just see if this still, if I can just get that to trim neat. We're gentle, you won't pull it. There we go. If you're a bit heavy fisted, then it definitely pulls it. That's me sometimes when I'm trying to work on these. I'll do this top piece. I have overlapped those curb stones, and then I just want to check that I've got enough underneath. It's nice and even. Only by eye, doesn't really matter. And obviously, actually I've done that wrong. So I'm going to have to add. We add those in there. Well, that wasn't very clever of me. Okay, let's just going to put a bit over the top then. And I will just let that dry, I think, before I try and fold any of those across. So that's better. And then I can work out all the individual pieces to put across there. But the straights are nice and easy. It's just me being impatient then. Let's cut a little bit more out of this. These are all been lacquered. I've only lacquered the pieces that I really need. Let me get this one folded down that I did earlier. And it looks quite effective once it's all on there. So, and we continue with the rest of this piece, and I'll get it on the layout. Right, try and work out the lighting bus. I've got these connectors that I want to connect this module to this one. So I want to leave this so it's a completely removable module, so you can get access to all the tracks if needed, and for sort of portability. By the time you put all these buildings on, all this extra weight, it's going to be very heavy, this board, and easily damage the buildings. That's sort of what I was thinking, but I may secure it eventually, I don't know. I've got to sort of think about that. But I'm going to just put, when I do put a back on here, I will leave these holes sort of open, so for servicing and things like that. So this one will just be for connecting the power cable up, and I just want to use sort of a socket on the bottom there. This is joined to the lighting bus on the top, and I'm just going to plug that straight in. So, and that should then be quite good. I actually have secured that building on, so I was starting to get a bit carried away with myself there. And what I have for the lighting bus is some 9-volt battery boxes, and just standard 9-volt battery. And I was going to mount that just sort of on the front of the layout, you know, so you can just switch each board on and off the lighting. Obviously, would have been nice if we controlled it all via one control box, but at the moment I'm going to do it this way, and then there's an option in the future of wiring it all to a connector to connect it all the way to one control box. Right, and the plan is now to get these holes drilled for these buildings. I think that is going to go up to the edge at the end there. And because this building is slightly wider, in fact I'll bring the camera around to a better view. Yeah, I think that's a better view. But like I was just saying, that needs to come sort of like so. So that one is slightly wider, so I want that to go right up to there, and then that gives me that sort of depth. Now I don't know whether to join those two buildings together like that, or leave a little bit of a space, because we do have windows there, but how noticeable will light be through those windows, I don't know. maybe I'll just leave a little bit of space and have it like that. I think that'll be okay. Now I've dropped my pen. Oh. That's where that one wants to be. And the same with that one. And then I've got the large building in the middle to fit and wire, and then that one to finish. So let me get these buildings, let me get the holes drilled, buildings glued down in place, and then I can start looking at the wiring underneath. Right, I've got all the lighting busts all in underneath on the top deck now, so that's all working. I've tested that with the 9-volt battery, so then this will just simply slot in place, and you just plug the connector in just underneath. You can't really see that I'm doing that there, but trust me. And I do only have some wires just sticking out at the moment. I've not put the proper connector on, so you can get these very short, and you get the idea. All the lights will just come on the 12-volt battery. I haven't put lights in this building yet, so but I'm going to. I can easily do that just from the back. So. But yeah, I mean, I think that looks pretty good. There's the back to go on yet, and the side, and I'm just finishing off this building, and that's got lights that I've already put a lighting bus inside, and then I'll put some lights on the other part of it. I've also just been putting this fence in at the back, and I've just put a layer of grass on there at the moment, so I'm just using the glue bottles just to hold the fence in straight. It kept falling over. So I need to order some more of that fencing for the other boards, but I just want to try and get this one board complete. As you can see, I've put a nice bridge going across from one factory building to the other, so which looks actually quite good sort of thing, I think, anyway, when you're looking down the layout. And I've still got to put all the brick pillars in here yet, so, and then there's still quite a lot more work to do, but it's getting there. I think this top deck's looking pretty good, and I'll get it on the layout shortly and compare it to the rest. Right, not far off completed on the this scene now. There's a bit of space here. I was thinking of actually using that as the car park space anyway, so I think that will probably be the best use of that. I've got most of the buildings that I want in place. Yeah, they're all fixed in place now, so I would have liked it a little bit more on here, I think, but I think, you know, less is more, as they say, in a way. But let me just show. So I've finished the other side of this building. I've put lights in there as well. We've got the like the bridge across. I've done the texture on the roads. I've noticed how to dull this off. Just spray some lacquer over it, and that seems to have worked quite well. And obviously I've still got to do a little bit of wiring on the lights, but I've just put it onto a plug connector, so the top can lift all off and just be, that's a completely movable section. Plugs just back in, and then At the moment it's just running off that battery pack that's loose, but you sort of get the idea. And you can see that I've lit just the top floor of that one, but we've got plenty of lights in the buildings. Still got to put some lights in this building, and I've got all of this work to do underneath now. So all these are brick pillars, so I need another brick pillar in here. Sort these out. Hi, and thank you for watching this episode. So I've not got any locomotives running this week. Obviously I need to put the layout back together. I still need to do a little bit of wiring on the layout so I can get this shuttle working again. But you know, it seems to have all gone okay. These Metcalfe buildings seem to really look quite the part now. You know, I wasn't really sure whether to use them or not originally, but now, yes. You know, and it's saved quite a few days' work of building scalescenes products. I do really like the scalescenes products, and I've made a little bit of a hash of this back piece, but it's not my greatest piece of work, but it looks okay, you know. But it's, you don't really see it from this angle. I'm seeing it now, and I can see a couple of bits that I'm not very happy with, but you know, I think facing this direction is perfectly fine. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I wish you a very good rest of the day, or you know, evening, and enjoy your weekend, and hopefully you'll see you on the next video.